And hello and welcome to the Metabolic Balance ANZ podcast. I am very excited today to welcome a lovely naturopath and metabolic balance certified practitioner from the Sunshine Coast. Carolyn Allen, she joined MB in August 2022. And she has worked with many clients already and has really embraced metabolic balance into her practice. And she's going to share some of her results and how she feels about metabolic balance. So a big hello to Carolyn. How are you doing?
Hi, I'm very well. Thank you for having me.
It's lovely to have you here talking to me today, because what did you find being a naturopath, before you introduced metabolic balance into your practice? How was it working for you in practice?
Like in practice, like naturopathy is beautiful and it works really, really well in a certain way. But I was finding that I was attracting a lot of women in, say, their late 30s, kind of perimenopausal years. And no matter what we were doing, they had a problem with their weight kept going up and their supplement and herbs kept going up. So the price of that kept going up. And these people were, they were doing all the right things. So they were doing all the right things, but they weren't getting results. And I know for a lot of them, they just felt like, who am I? What's going to happen? And they started to get that panic. And that panic is never good for anyone. But what I had seen happen with a friend of mine who was a metabolic balance practitioner was she was getting results for these women. And so out of curiosity, I kind of tapped one of my clients on the shoulder and I said, look, I adore you. And what I want you to do is go and contact this person and see, what results you get from working with them. Because I feel like, yes, we've kind of rectified quite a few of your bigger health issues. But in terms of you feeling like you're back in your skin, that's just not happening. And there were just things, you don't want your clients to be paying hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars of, for supplements and herbs every single month. You want them to use food as their medicine first. So that's kind of what started my journey. So yes, I did. My clients saw amazing results, and there's somebody who we just couldn't. Not only could we not budge on releasing weight, she was putting it on, and she was eating really, really well. Yeah, and she lost, I think it was like 15 to 20 kilos. So she lost a significant amount of weight. And the weight's one thing. And I always say, look, I'm not in the business of making you into a supermodel. That's not why I'm here. And I don't care about that number on the scale. But it had a significant impact in her confidence, in her getting out there and starting things and doing things and trying new things at work, her sleep, and also, her coming off medications with the aid of her doctor, but also coming off quite a few of those supplements and herbs that I'd had her on, which is always the goal. You don't want people on everything for forever. So that's what happened with that client.
I did not know that. That's such an interesting. It's. I think what we know. I mean, like with just as natural medicine practitioners, we know that like naturopathy, nutrition, it plays an enormous role in shifting the dial. Just what we can do as what we've learned, in college and everything, just cleaning up the diet. You can get a really good change just doing those general, generic kind of great advice, and then getting some good quality supplements in there. But as you just described, it is actually, you can't always get people where you really want them to go. That's kind of where that real personalization that comes from really in-depth data and analysis, they almost elevate it to the next level up.
What I love is it gives people the space and the time to work with you deeply. So what I was finding was seeing me as a naturopath is quite, it is an expensive thing to go and see a naturopath. And what I wanted to do, and I've always thought this way, is create like a bubble for people to work with me over a long period of time and have that real support, deep support, but also, and I hope this makes sense because it makes sense in my brain. But I always think of metabolic balance and nutrition as cleaning up the hardware. So you can put as much software as you want into a computer, but if that hard work isn't stable and the foundations aren't there, like it's not going to work. And you want specific software for you as for your computer that works really well. And how MB works in my head and how I explain it to clients is let's clean up the muddy pool, because once you clean up that muddy pool, you can actually see what's left in the clear water. And we can be really tailored then with, okay, we've used MB to clean up this stuff that's going on for you. And now I know, for example, A, B, and C is still an issue. Why don't we approach it naturopathically? Because I'm always kind of working, it really flows, but using MB as the foundation has worked brilliantly for like 100+ clients for me. I think I've got to get those numbers, but like a lot of women and some men have come to me. So
yeah, because it is that foundation. I mean, I often, when I'm practicing, I like it to be able to say, look, let's get the diet right for at least 4 weeks and see now where the true problem is. And that's really what you're saying too, is how you like to practice. So you clear up the muck as much as you can. Then you can see where the true blockages are, because like you sort out that fundamental, all the body systems, but then we actually can see where the targeted support is needed, which is where naturopathic extra knowledge and herbal treatments can come in. But then they're really needed and they're going to have the impact you want them to have.
because you're just not throwing things into a muddy pool and wondering where it goes. You're really tailored with, okay, as for one client, they might not need anything. Like they might need really good magnesium or lipids or something like the foundational support. But when we work with diet, it also gives them a freedom, which I don't think a lot of people have, because there's so many mixed messages out there about food, how to eat. And it's created this real confusion for women in particular, because there's a massive market for perimenopause now. And like I can see the dollar signs in some of these bigger companies, and it's confusing a lot of the women who come to me and they're like, look, I've already tried all of this. I'm like, I know. And I've worked with enough women to know that the basics work really well. And when we use personalized nutrition, it kind of comes in and it says, look, here's this foundation and these, specific vitamins, enzymes, they're all needed. And here's how we'll give you that in a plan. It's not forever, but it's kind of like, and I think, was it you that told me, or have I made this up? But I always explain to clients, you get the list of your best friends, and they're the ones that are always going to make you feel good. And then we work out who are your really good acquaintances, and they're the foods that, you forget how good they make you feel. You don't eat them all the time, but they always leave you feeling good. And then we work out your frenemies, and they're the ones that just leave you feeling rubbish. And it's not foods like, not foods, if you know what I mean, processed foods, but there's foods where it just doesn't work for you. And being able to identify that and then craft how you move into phase 4 has just been really beautiful for myself as well, because I do it.
And I think that's what you also said that at the beginning as well, that when we as practitioners actually get the opportunity to work with somebody for an actual true period of time, because you're not going to change that much in one session, or 2 or 3 sessions, but give me 2 or 3 months, or 6 months. We can really, you can work with somebody, they can feel really supported. They can have, different challenges that crop up in life, and we can talk them through and work out ways to navigate it. Is that, do you agree with that?
Oh, 1,000%. And the other thing is, it gives people the control back that they feel like they're lacking, because there's nothing quite like feeling like you're doing all the right things and following all of the different advice you're seeing online. And not only are you not getting results, you're feeling worse for it. And so when people are doing metabolic balance and they've got their plan that's made for them, that control is given back to them, and that freedom as well. And that's what I found the biggest, like one of the biggest, well, the lines that I get told all the time from clients. I'm blown away, Carolyn. I'm just blown away. And this is not just one client. This is pretty much like 80% of clients use the word I'm blown away. And it is because of that. And that it's like almost going, oh, I can breathe easy now, because you know what? I might fall off the wagon, but I've got my plan to come back to, and I recommend that all clients kind of come back annually, give themselves a refresh, but that's your plan. That's your plan for you to bring you back into balance.
Yeah. And whenever you bring your plan back, there's no extra cost for anybody either. That's the value of an MB plan just keeps on, getting stronger and stronger, because you have that knowledge that nobody has to buy more products, nobody has to buy or take anything. You just go, right, I'm resetting, I'm getting going on it.
And I'm really aware, and this is not to put shame on anybody, but we have to remember why and how we operate as natural health practitioners. And we are not I can see that we're moving into a model where it's becoming very like pharmaceuticals, and we're like dishing out the things, and people are getting obsessed with, oh, I take this, I get this. I'm like, no, that's not necessarily the case. And we have to be really mindful of how we work, because it's very expensive to live at the moment for a lot of people. You can't rely on good health coming from outside stuff. You have to do the base work as well. And then of course there's beautiful herbs and supplements that work so well, but they shouldn't be the foundation. Your food should be your foundation, and bringing that freedom back to life as well. And the joy in food, like using food for food and the flavors coming back. Can you tell I love it?
Yes. I mean, and that's the thing I wish I could kind of package up, because yes, I am, fully invested in metabolic balance. This is, my business for Australia and New Zealand. I've been using it for 12 years. I love it. And I have a vested interest in. But you are an independent practitioner who are just looking for what you know is best for your clients. And yet, you're sitting here talking to me because you love the results you get.
Yeah, and I love it for myself as well, because I have been following it for a couple of years. And yes, I'm human, and I'm coming back to my plan a lot, like not a lot. I still do the kind of seasonally refresh and then live in phase 4, which is how it should be. You should be able to live and eat real food and have treats and not have that imbalance come back. And that's what I talk a lot now with clients is metabolic balance helps with that metabolic flexibility, that cleanup, and then that ability to have, to go out, and foods don't have that impact that they may have once had on you. So you're not going to feel as terrible when, you go out and you might go on a holiday and there's lots of indulging, and you might normally feel like you put on 5 kilos, you feel really sluggish. Your body's not doing that because you have established that metabolic flexibility. And that's a key point I've been making with clients as well. So it's not a vanity thing. And I think when we look at weight loss and we look at the industry of weight loss and body love and all of those things, at the end of the day, people are not well, whatever body shape you are. If you're not well, you know when you're not well, and you know when you're not yourself, or when you look in the mirror, you're like, who is this person? I don't feel good. I'm tired. I don't have energy throughout the day. I eat good foods. I go to the health food shop and I'm trying to do all the right things, and I still feel terrible. But, when we look at bloods, we work with the pathology, we go a little bit deeper if we need to, we use MB, and then we take it from there. Like, the results are just phenomenal. And if you look at my Google page and you look at my Google reviews, it's just each one of them is like, wow, wow, wow. And a lot of them I use MB for because that's where I'm getting my real results.
Yeah. It's it's what it's what I see too. So it's lovely to hear you you sharing that. And from your own practice point of view, do you have a niche client that you should support, or who do you really love working with?
I really love working with women who are kind of post having children, or maybe even before having children, and they are looking to start their journey. But it's those women who feel like they've tried everything and they just don't have their sparkle. And I see it, I'm 40 and I can see women start to say, oh, well, it's perimenopause. I have no choice. This is just how it's going to be. I'm like, no, let's stop it. Like, it's not the case. Yes, you might have to, do something where you're really rejigging things and bringing that balance back. But I work with enough women to know if you stick to it, and it's not a long time, like 12 weeks to reset how your body works and then to reestablish how you move forward. It's not a long time. It's a very rewarding journey. But yeah, when it comes to women, hormones, and it's all interconnected. So when I say my niche is probably, women um, kind of hitting their late 30s, 40s, hormone issues, gut health issues, all connected anyway, we know that. Thyroid, all of those things. And, I do have a recent example if you would like to hear about it. But
Yeah, I'd love to hear about it.
so a recent like client of mine, she had been recommended by another lady who is a CEO, really busy woman, very successful woman, and she's also sent lots of people to me, which has been wonderful. But this one particular client came to me. She said, "Look, I'm about to spend $10,000 working with this doctor because I've got all of these thyroid issues, and I put on 20 kilos in a year. It's not, and we kind of see that in practice where the autoimmune conditions start to knock on the door, and then everything just falls." And I said, "Look," she's like, "I try everything. I barely eat. Nothing works for me." And I said, "Well, why don't we just get you on this? We're going to go through it together, and we're then going to really monitor and tailor, your plan. So we've got your plan working for you, but then we're going to come in and really support you holistically with your thyroid condition." And all of a sudden, there was a bit of like, she was a bit stuck, calm, released a lot of this weight. And she said for the first time in years, she can look at herself and feel like she's looking at herself again. And the weight's coming off. And we know when women are a certain age, we know when there's thyroid autoimmune conditions at play, the weight can go up, and it can go up really rapidly, and it can make you feel very, very, very unwell.
And you also they feel helpless because you're just waking up every day and just, okay, why is that? Why am I heavier?
And why am I heavier? But why am I depressed? Because we know everything that comes with these conditions. Why am I depressed? Why am I losing all my hair? Why don't I have a libido anymore? Why am I really irritable? Why do I feel anxious when the phone rings? Yeah, why have I got another autoimmune condition, coming into play? So it's been beautiful for her. And I've seen it. And I said to her, don't spend $10,000 just yet, because I feel like we need to do this for a little bit. And then by all means, go and spend $10,000 if you want to spend $10,000 on some basic stuff. But I know this goes really deep. And I know from that point, we're going to be able to work really closely together and get you results. And we have. So that's been really, really cool.
I think what you said as well, that it's. I mean, I'm a woman in her 50s now, and I know that I can I can have a real influence in how my body feels and looks, because I know what I need to do on a, and we don't do everything perfect. Oh my God, I love a glass of wine and some chocolate when it's the right time. So this it's just knowing. But when you, like what you described there with your client, there's a certain sort of just looking at yourself, and I hear this a lot with clients too. It's not feeling. I don't feel like me, and I don't know what to do about it. And that's the reason, again, why I wanted to do these podcasts. Why I started this up. I just want people to realize and just hear that there is something they can do, and not have to spend thousands or hundreds every week or month and essentially still feel bad. Yeah.
And that's the thing as well. It's not about restriction, because I know, and I see this a lot, and I think I wrote an article on my website about it, but there can be a lot of shame placed on women who feel like they need to lose weight now. And it can be a lot of like, love your body at any size. I'm like, that's fine. If you're somebody in, say, your 20s and your early 30s, and you're looking and you've got this idealistic way of life, and you haven't yet been hit by, perimenopause or autoimmune conditions where you genuinely don't feel well. Like, you do not feel like your body. You get up and you feel like, oh, who am I? And it's all about, like, well and good for people to say, don't worry about what, your weight. And that's, I believe, it's not about like a physical look and that you should achieve this perfection, but you need to be in your body. You need to feel comfortable in yourself. And that can often come with just releasing what needs to go. And that's not just a weight thing. I say to my clients, we're going to be releasing a lot of things. We're releasing habits that don't serve you anymore. We're releasing weight, and we're releasing that mental tension that comes from trying to work out what the right thing to do for your health is. Because it's not hard. It just takes, commitment, discipline, and also, I say to my clients all the time, I'm here to hold your hand and skip alongside you in this journey, but I'm not dragging you. This is your journey and your health journey. You have to be really empowered to make this decision.
Yeah. And you have to be ready, don't you? Yeah, it's ready to actually have something different. Sometimes, there I have many conversations with different people, and it'll be along the lines of, maybe people are listening to this, and they might know, okay, we don't want, in the beginning stages when we're doing this reset, you're not going to have any sort of wine for 3 or 4 weeks. Oh, can't do that. Well, you're not ready yet. But yeah, it's just not ready yet. And so when you are ready for it to be different, we're here. But it's not just finding another pill or another injectable or another, I don't know, cut something out of me. I want to still do what I want to do that actually is part of the problem that's causing the problems. And when you're ready to feel different, then you're also ready to really relook at what serves you and what's in your best interests. Because we can all still have the odd glass of wine, but when you're having wine every night, or you're relying on it, or you're relying on that, caffeine hit 4, 5, 6 times a day to keep you going, all that kind of stuff, then, and that, yeah, it's not that, when you're ready, you can let it go and do something different.
Yeah, and a lot of clients who have like done this with me have felt really empowered that they could do it. So I say to them, give me a month, like give me 1 month, because from that point, that's the hard bit. So, give me 1 month, but from that 1 month, we start to really navigate what life looks like in the future for you. And after that month, so many of them say, I never thought I could be the person who, gave up alcohol. Because I'm quite strict with the alcohol piece, because I say, you should be okay not to have alcohol for a month, at least a month. And if you're not, we need to really work out why, because it isn't normal to feel like you can't go a month without alcohol. So I can be a little bit hard with that. So, but having said that, so many people have completely reestablished their relationship to alcohol through this process as well, and sugar. Um, and the thing as well is, like, I'm not going to tap you on the hand and you're not in trouble, but it's a really good opportunity when you find yourself, I had a client recently and she felt like she was ashamed. And I said, that's not, she ate chocolate, quite a bit of Cadbury chocolate. And I said, it's a really great opportunity to have a look now and, like, treat it like, be curious. What were you feeling that moment? Because you weren't hungry, because you just had your, a beautiful meal, and she acknowledged that, not hungry. And so then we knew there's a lot more that we're working with for her. And then we bring in the other tools. But you can't bring in other tools until you work out that you're cleaning that up. And then you go, oh, this is actually still a problem. Let's address it with, whether that's therapy with somebody else or some of the other practices that I have as a naturopath.
Yeah. And I am such a strong believer we have to get rid of any kind of shame, or that shame is such an awful emotion for people to have. And it's, and we need to get rid of this idea and just look at it as we all have tools and we all have ways of coping, whatever we need to cope with at the time. But it's only when we do something a bit differently that we can actually start to see, well, is that still in my best interest that I use that coping mechanism to cope with that? And I should never be ashamed of coping with when I cope with it that way. I'm just learning a different way to cope with it. And so, I don't think that's so important to bring that out. But we can only get to those kind of conversations around food and what we're choosing when we're actually started to do something differently, and we're just taking each day at a time.
Each day, and that's the thing, like, be really curious with what comes up during your healing journey, because it's not a magic pill. It is across 12 weeks at a minimum. Like, to be honest, I tell my clients, this is your minimum. And I'm there to support them beyond that 12 weeks. It's not like I go, well, I've had enough of you now, off you go. There's often, bringing them back and having just quick check-ins with them to make sure that, how is phase 4 working for them? How is everything going, and what else do we might need to do? Very often clients, like, I had one client, and again, she is the CEO of her own company, and it's a big company, and she was just felt terrible. And she sent me a message the other day, and she just said, this is the best decision I have ever made in my life, because she is now, and, like, I think I shared it the other day because I was just thrilled to get that feedback from her. Because she needs that space to work in the way she wants to work, because it brings her a lot of joy, but she wants to show up for her family as well. And metabolic balance, it helped her to feel really good, have the energy back, but it also brought into focus the other changes that she wanted to make, to be able to really thrive in her life, because it wasn't normal how she was going about things. And she was healthy. If we were looking at what she was doing, she was healthy. And she was following a lot of these, like, without naming them all, but, that really hardcore approach, all or nothing, that real bro kind of philosophy. And it wasn't working, because she's a woman in her 40s and it was all crumbling. And she's so good now. Yeah.
I think it's just actually truly when you match something up to an individual in a real hand in glove kind of, fully integrated way. It is incredible what the human body does. I mean, I've often said it's like we see clients' bodies actually heave an enormous sigh of relief to say, oh my goshness, what was that word? What did I just say? Gushness. Oh my goodness, or whatever I meant to say there. It's like, oh my God, this really is that my body she's looking after us, and I can actually start working again. So all the paths become clear and unblocked, and everything flows. And it's it's the relief. It's the relief, and it's the results, and it is from actually that personalized analysis. Let's get truly down to personalised. And then how do I look after myself for the next 20, 30 years? It's not about short term, it's not about just short term, okay, I do a diet once. Oh my goodness. Haven't we had enough of that? It's never worked for the last 50, 60 years. Why, when are we going to learn? It's that definition of madness, Einstein's definition of madness. Keep doing the same thing, but expect different results. Yeah, you got to, learn something different. Yeah, learn something different. Learn how to actually look after yourself, and then, body can work.
And that's the thing as well. It's like clients are doing like this with me who, they're like me. Like they grew up in the 80s and the 90s and there were so many fads. But what has happened and what I've really noticed as like being in this industry is we are so confused because there are so many things that people are just spending money on, all these wonder, proteins and all of these like exotic things. I'm like, it's real food and it's the quality of that food. And I've had so many clients say, I can't believe how much money I've actually saved in the 12 weeks. It's almost paid for itself because I'm not going out and just indulging in whatever I feel like to kind of, just because out of habit. I'm not drinking alcohol. I'm really aware of how much food I actually need because it's on my plan. And they're able to bring it to their families. And I did have a bit of pushback and I said, oh, some clients have said, but how will I do this with the family? And I said, well, it's real food. Why can't your family have real food too? Like just make it for them. You're going with your quantities, but for the first bit, we are quite aware of how much the body is taking in because you almost need to relearn what it feels like to be satisfied and also relearn what it feels like to be hungry and ready for your next meal. Because what I've noticed in the last, 2 decades is no one's ever hungry. Everyone is always constantly fed. And then we're wondering why things like our gut health, hormones, were really in disarray because we're just not giving it the body time to process foods. And so when we bring in some of the principles with MB combined with the tailored foods, I just see it's like magic. It's not because it's just real food, but it feels very magical to watch somebody transform. And then also their families, because I get so many things going, my husband's doing so well now. And I'm like, of course he is, because if you're making meals for your family with real food, and mind you, you might need to chop things up, I'll often make extra proteins or potatoes or just whole foods for my family, that's just a bit more than maybe what I'm having when I'm in the plan. But it's great. I love it.
Yeah. And so if somebody's just listening here today and they're thinking, I don't know if I can do, I want to, I don't know if this is right for me, or if, I'm not feeling right in myself, but, what is metabolic balance and is it going to work for me, or what could I do, in the short term? What would you say if you're talking to them directly? So this unsure person that's listening going, oh, is this everything? What is this really? And is it right for me?
Yeah. The first thing I would do is just be really honest with yourself at where you're currently at. And that sometimes means, you sit down with a cup of tea and you just write down everything that you've got going on and where you're actually at. Like, what are some of the habits that you know about yourself? Where are you at right now? And what will it take for you to be ready to step in? Because sometimes they're just really small changes. So it might be for some people that, they do allow themselves some fasting time during the day. So they're not having breakfast, snack, a little bit more of a snack, big lunch, a little bit of snack, dinner, dessert. And then maybe they get up and they have something else. And, we laugh at that because, oh, who would do that? But so many people do that.
We've all done it. We've all done it in the past.
Yeah, we do it.
I definitely used to do that. 100%. Yeah.
And there's no shame either. And this is the thing I always say, approach where you're at right now with a lot of gentleness and compassion because you are perfect the way you are. And we just want you feeling really, really well. And that comes from not having, those nasty words about yourself because it doesn't help. healing starts with how we start to talk to ourselves. So that's the first thing I would do. The second thing I would do is I would just be really clear on cutting out not all at once. You don't have to do it all at once, but have one coffee a day. Don't have three. Have one coffee a day. Have 3 or 4 days where you're not having alcohol. Make sure you're having water throughout your day. That's your only form of hydration is water. And there's a couple of other things. And I know we've got 8 rules in MB, but I've added 2. And so I'm going to give you the other 2 now. So I say to my clients, you follow the 8 rules, and then I want you chewing your food properly. I want you sitting and chewing your food properly, because we only have teeth in our mouth. We need to make sure the food, as it goes down and is digested, because digestion starts as we chew, before we even chew, actually.
It starts when we look at the food.
100%.
Yeah, sit and look at it.
Exactly. So sitting down to your meal and chewing each mouthful properly. And the other thing I ask my clients not to do is to have water with their meals. So separating their meals away from their water by at least 30 minutes. So, finish your glass of water, sit, wait, eat properly, really mindfully, don't scoff your food, and then have water after, just to keep things working really well, because that helps with our digestion. So they're the things. And of course, have a green apple every day.
Yes, we love our apple a day. Yeah, absolutely.
So they're just some basic things.
And so, thank you so much for sharing, your insights into using metabolic balance. It is just a program. It's a program. I say it's just a program, but it's a program that, as an independent, a fully educated, very experienced naturopath, you are, you rely on in practice too. I hope I'm correct in saying that, because it does, get you the results that you need. And I love talking to practitioners, because it's so important to try and get the message out there as much as possible. And I really do appreciate, because there's so many mixed messages, like you said.
Oh, it's so confusing for people.
I get confused myself.
I do too. And I say to people, like, I've got a degree and I have to every year, complete additional study to be able to do what I do. And I'm confused. So what on earth are you expected to do?
Come back to the basics. Let's get the food right. That's all we actually need to do. People, what is really going on when they're trying to overcomplicate it, saying we have to have $1 trillion tests and trillions of tests and all of these supplements and polypharmacy happening. What about we just get back to basics?
And this is the thing as well is, as practitioners, like, I will do further testing as long as it changes the way I want to treat. So when it comes to MB, like, there are some clients where I'm like, okay, I think we still need to do this test just to clarify what else might be going on. But they were in a much better place. And I know we're winding this up, but I want to share a story about a client who went to her doctor after doing MB with me. And she is somebody who had children young. She's in her late 40s, 50s now. And she said, and the results with her doctor the first time round when she came to me, there were a lot of things going on which you could just see where she was heading. And her doctor was like, looked at her results, and he looked at her and he looked again. And he's like, oh my God, this is phenomenal. And he said, I need the name of that naturopath. And she was so happy with herself. And she said to me, Carolyn, for the first time in my life, I look in the mirror and I feel really good. But for the first time in my life, she has gone out shopping to buy clothes that she really wants to wear without that feeling of it's just a thing to put on my body. She feels good about herself. And she's a beautiful human. And she is just so sparkling now. And she told me that strangers stop her in the street to ask her about her skin because she just glows and you can really see it. And I said, because I say this to my clients, I'm like, yeah, you'll release weight, that's going to happen. But the other change that happens is your skin is really clear, and the whites of your eyes are really clear, and the color changes. So I started with like quite hazily eyes, and my eyes got really green because it was such a big cleanup, working with all the different body systems. So when my clients say that, I'm like, so good.
Lovely. It's so good. It's so good. Yeah, I love it. Oh, thank you, Carolyn. It's been lovely to talk to you. And I love hearing the the client success stories. And it's it when I say client success stories, it makes it seem like there are clients that don't have success. Because but everybody learns what they need to learn, don't they?
But everybody does come to it and walks away with feeling better. Whether that's like crazy results, like there are some really crazy results where you're like, that even blew my mind. But most of the time, the results are so good for that person. And that's what I care about, that person is ready to live their life properly again.
That's what personalized nutrition is about, though, isn't it? It's getting what makes people feel good.
Yeah, I could talk to you forever.
I know. I'm just like, we could actually just carry on for another hour. Well, we'll have to do it again. That's what we need to do, Carolyn.
I'd love to come back.
Lovely. Okay. Well, thank you so much. And if you'd like to get in touch with Carolyn, please, you'll see the contact details in the show notes and also on the Metabolic Balance website as well. So a big thank you again, Carolyn, and we will see everybody next time.